اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيحة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي يا ابن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الحادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وسي الحسن والخلف الحجة يا وسي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله حاجات يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين يا رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سورة الفاتحة
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد قالها الذين من قبلهم فما أغنى عنهم ما كانوا يكسبون فأصابهم سيئات ما كسبوا والذين ظلموا من هؤلاء سيصيبهم سيئات ما كسبوا وما هم بمعجزين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل. Tuesday night, dua Tawassul, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill the hajat and the request of all of those who are in need. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove hurdles and problems that we face in our lives. And at the same time, we make dua and prayers for all of those in our surroundings as well as far away who are in need of hajat. If you remember, continuing with the Tafsir of Surah Zumar, last week we recited this ayat number 49, which said, when distress befalls him, he supplicates to us. Then when we grant him a blessing, he says, I was given it by the virtue of my own knowledge. Meaning, when something is given, right away we become arrogant, and right away we start saying, oh, this is all because of my own hard work, and no one else had helped me forget God himself. With that said, that perspective in mind, we come to this ayat number 50, which says, those before them had already said it, but they were not availed by what they used to earn, and the evil consequences of what they earned struck them. And those who have wronged of these people will be afflicted by the evil consequences of what they earn. So, going back to that discussion, once you receive something and then you start, saying that, oh, this is all my own hard work, I've earned it, no one else had done anything. Even when we get something in this worldly life, for example, you go through your schools, you go through your studies, higher education, then you land a job in a nice place, and you earn a lot of money. Even then, even though you've done everything by yourself, there's someone that you still think, my parents had played a very vital role in providing me with this. My parents, my siblings, my spouse. You try to thank that circle of people that are in your surrounding when you have achieved something. I'm sure you've seen many people who, for example, when they win the World Cup or when they win championship, they say, well, I thank God for, granting this, if they are religious. And then I thank my parents, I thank my siblings, I thank my family members, I thank my spouse. They thank them, although what the spouse or the family or the parents had done as far as this person's, basketball, football, baseball career is concerned, cricket career is concerned. They didn't help him practice this or to, for example, get better at this sports that they're good at. Maybe the parents don't even know how to play the sports. But yet they're still thanking them because of some sort of moral support that they received from them. That is just acknowledgement. Even if they did not help at all in the progression of that thing which you have achieved, you still thank these people. Why? Because they made it possible for you to progress. They made time for you. They took care of your chores. They took care of your hard work, your other work that was on you, so that you would have more time to go ahead and perform. When a person in this worldly life has to thank people in their surroundings and to acknowledge their hard work on and their impact on your life, how is it that you forget that God Almighty gave you the strength, provided all that what you have, and then right away you back out and you say, well, that has nothing to do with anyone else. This is all that I have attained and earned by myself. That is when they were seized of evil doing, the ability of which they were so proud of, did not avail them anything, and also became known that they were not God's favorites. Evidently, if their earning had been due to their capability and their being favorites of God, they would not have been seized for evil doing at all. The fact that there's evil now in it, the ayah says what? Those before them had already said it. Said what? This is all because of my own hard work. This is not something new. This is not something new for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even in our lives, however long you get to live, you say, well, my 30 years of career, I've seen many such issues. I've seen many people come and complain about the same exact thing. You're talking about your own personal 30 years of experience. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the same exact thing. He said, these people who are saying this is all my hard work. This is nothing new. Remember the example of Qarun that we gave you? We gave all that which Qarun had. He came out saying what? When Prophet asked him to go ahead and give it to those who are poor and the needy in your area, help them out. He said, why should I? This is all my hard work. This is all the earnings that I have attained because of my own mind. Fine, even if you take that sense, still go ahead and help others out. So it says, فَأَصَابَهُمْ سَيِّئَاتُ مَا كَسَبُوا. And the evil consequences of what they earned struck them. So verse 50 generally states, whatever the criminals have acquired in the world will not be of any use to them in the day of judgment. Other verses in the Quran as well specify what they have acquired. For example, in Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives similar example of a person considering himself to be mustaghni, self-sufficient, without need. So this is divided into three discussions. First is over here when it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَن تُغْنِيَ عَنْهُمْ أَمْوَالُهُم. Those who disbelieve, never will their wealth or their children avail them, meaning help them out when they are in need. In fact, what will happen to the same wealth and the same children? It says, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ وَقُودُ النَّارِ. Forget about them helping them. You want this earned wealth that you have. You want the children that you have raised to do what? Take care of you. And say, well, they won't help them. They won't take care of them. Not in this world, not in the hereafter. In fact, in the hereafter, what would they become? And it is they who are fuel for the fire. If anything, it adds on to the misery of this individual. Second example that is given over here is not in Surah Araf. And when the companions of the elevations, Araf, will call to men within hell, there will be people, conversation going on from heaven and the hell, whom they recognize by their marks, saying, of no avail to you was your gathering and the fact that you were arrogant. The fact that you were arrogant, nothing that you had brought or nothing that you had accumulated helped you out. You still ended up being in the pit of, in the pits of this hellfire. And last example is regarding people's planning. Allah says their plans don't help them out. Not today, not tomorrow. يَوْمَ لَا يُغْنِي, same word is being used. عَنْهُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. Surah Tur, verse number 46. The day their plan will not avail them at all, nor will they be helped. So here we see wealth, children, their plan, and whatever else that they had acquired in this world, thinking it will be beneficial for them. It will not avail them. Look at the reality of the life. Not that this is discouraging you from accumulating wealth. Not that this is discouraging you from having children or, no, you should have kasrat of wealth and kasrat awlad. Nothing wrong with that. But the fact that you're relying so much on that, what happens when a person leaves this world? Maybe your grave, instead of being $1,000 grave, it might cost you $5,000, but it's going to be the same grave. It's not going to be decorated grave. Okay, someone might build a beautiful mausoleum on top of the grave. That's all. You're still laying in that ground, 6 feet in the ground. That's all there is. That's your final abode. What did this wealth, what did the children help you out? Wealth only provided for your shrouds, for your kafan, for your burial. Children only carried you on their shoulders to the graveyard. That's it. And then they all went back. So all that you were doing so much taqiyya and reliance upon did not avail you at all on the day of judgment. So Qarun also considered his wealth to be the result of his knowledge, thinking, and his economic strategy. So other people could have earned money too, but my economic strategy was better than others. So this is all my good doing. Saying I was only given it because of my knowledge. Therefore, Quran states in this verse, those who came before them, like Qarun, said the same thing. So this statement is not new. So don't be fooled by this statement. Some of the messages that we can derive from this verse. Number one, historical examples serve as guidance and education. What is the purpose of history? Why do you look at history? You look at history so that you don't repeat the same history. If it's something which is to be taken lesson from. But unfortunately, we see the history is repeating itself. They marched into Afghanistan looking for WMDs. They didn't find it. They destroyed the region. They go into Iraq doing the same thing. WMDs, they didn't find it. They destroyed the region. And now they're doing the same thing when it comes to Palestine. And now they're turning toward, Lebanon as well. What have they not learned from their past mistakes? With such advancement, and there's so much critical study that goes on. For every inch, for everything, for every possible matter that comes about, they scrutinize it. They've split it apart, splitting hairs when they look at things, where we went wrong. In fact, in sports today, all the analytics that are going on, they look at all the analytics. Oh, this is the sequence, this is how it works, this is what we did, this is what we did not do. Let's go ahead and implement this. And based on the analytics, they go ahead and move forward so they can be better. But when we see, they're repeating the history. They're going and making the same mistake again. So here, historical examples are good for your guidance and for your tarbiyat, for your education. قَدْ قَالَهَا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Same thing was uttered by the people that lived before. History is the best proof that wealth and riches, when faced with divine wrath, can save no one. If I'm facing that imminent danger in front of me, it's not going to help me. There were examples of people in the past who, I think there's a story associated with probably Harun al-Rashid, that with Bahlul, when he compared his kingdom and the importance of the kingdom that he possessed, he said, imagine if I was thirsty and dying and I didn't have anything and I was on the brink of death. What would you give for a sip of water? Harun said, I will give half of my kingdom. Because life is more important. I'm willing to give half my kingdom for a sip of water so I can survive. He said, imagine if you drank that water and you developed the illness where you could not pass this water. What would you do to give that up for? He said, the remaining half of my kingdom. The Bahlul told him, your entire kingdom is worth a cup of water which you drink and you can't even let go, for example, release it, for example. So that's the reality of your kingdom. And then even regarding other people in the history of Fars and Iran and Persia, before Islam, of course, there are people I don't want to name to make a mistake, that when they were about to die, in the recent past as well, I think before Inqilab, there was someone also who was, on death row, and he was supposed to be hanged and killed. He said, I'm willing to give this much to protect my life or to save my life or to get some hours of my life or to get a few days. Delay my hanging for a few days. So no, the decree has come. Today is the day when you will be, hanged, and that's it. So we're not going to go ahead and delay it just because you're willing to give $1 million. You're willing to give $10 million. Just recent past, not too long ago. So of course, when you're facing divine wrath, wealth and riches will not help you. Not in this world, nor in the hereafter. Of course, never in this world. Even if it does help you in this world, it's never going to be helpful in the hereafter. Same thing happened when Qarun was swallowed by the earth. No group could save him, right? He wanted to step into, and he was swallowed by the earth, and nobody could even get close to help him out. Divine traditions are systematic and unaffected by time and place. Regarding past generations, it says, فَأَصَابَهُمْ سَيِّئَاتُ مَا كَسَبُوا. They were afflicted by the evil of what they earned. And regarding the future generations, the ayah says, سَيُصِيبُهُمْ. It said, أَصَابَهُمْ for them, سَيُصِيبُهُمْ سَيِّئَاتُ مَا كَسَبُوا. See the same ayat, one in past tense, one in present or future tense. They will be afflicted with the evil of what they earn. Number 4, means of salvation on the day of judgment differ from wealth and power. فَمَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. But rather, it is your amal. It is your deeds that will come in handy over there, and not so much your wealth. Yes, of course, if the wealth is spent, spent in the right way, is spent in the right place, spent in the right direction, then of course that wealth will be beneficial for you in the hereafter as well. A person's destiny, therefore, according to this ayat, your destiny is in your own hands. If someone disagrees, oh, I'm forced. No, your destiny is right here. فَأَصَابَهُمْ سَيِّئَاتُ مَا كَسَبُوا. You are afflicted by the evil of what you did, not someone else. Not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forcing this onto you. So here it tells you that your destiny is within your own hands. Criminals are incapable of averting God's wrath from themselves. In Tafsir Tasneem, I ran out of my time. Ayatollah Jawadi Amli, towards the end of these verses, discusses the reality of the world, because this has to do with dunya. He says that in the religious text, world is divided into two parts or two types. Dunya pasandide wa dunya nakuhide. What is dunya pasandide? The praiseworthy world that you like. Pasand, from your likeness. Nakuhide is the one which is blameworthy, which is denounced. For the praiseworthy is the one that encourages using the world as a means to achieve spiritual and the moral behaviors. So many people lived in the same world, yet they attained the maqam that we can only imagine. And the same people in the same world, in the same time, look back at the time of Rasulullah, look back at the time of Imam Ali, look back at the time of other Imams. There were people who attained such maqam that you praise them even today. And then there were people like Yazid in the time of Imam Hussein. So blameworthy warns against getting lost in this world, the worldly attachments that distract you from a meaningful and purpose-driven life. So Quran explains this very beautifully in Surah Hadid, ayat number 20, when it mentions 5 steps of the world. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر وتكاثر. 5 things are mentioned here. I've done a majlis over here on this topic, and I'm sure other Maulanas have also. Know that the life of this world is but amusement, diversion, adornment, boasting to one another, and competition in increasing wealth and children. Takathur. 5 steps are mentioned. When explaining dunya nakuhande, the blameworthy, he quotes Amirul Mu'mineen's interaction with a man who was blaming this world. Why is this world so bad? That all the mishaps that have happened to me, it was blaming it that if it wasn't in this world, I would not have done this. If this didn't happen, I would not have done that. All the blame was being given away to the world. The world made me do this. The weather made me do this. The light made me do this. That this made me do that. All the things are being blamed now. Other things are being blamed. The sun and the moon and the tree and the water, all of these are being blamed. The Imam, when he heard him, Imam scolded him. And this is the short sayings, number 131. I'll urge if you can go and look at that. He said, Inna dunya daru sidqin liman sadaqaha. Wa daru afiyatin liman fahima anha. Wa daru ghinan liman tazawwada minha. وَدَارُ مَوْعِزَةٍ لِمَنِ اتَّعَظَ بِهَا مَسْجِدُ أَحْبَاءُ اللَّهِ مُصَلَّ مَلَائِكَةِ اللَّهِ مَهْبِطُ وَحْيِ اللَّهِ مَتْجَرُ أَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ اِكْتَصِبُوا فِيهَا الرَّحْمَةِ وَرَبِهُ فِيهِ الْجَنَّةِ. Nothing but praise of this world. Now, don't blame the world. Why? What is the world? Surely the world is a place of truth for those who are truthful to it. It is a place of safety for those who understand it. What is my limitation here? It is a place of wealth for those who collect their provision from it. It is a place of admonition for those who take admonition from it. Imam al-Satun then goes on that it's the masjid of those who are the ahibba and the friends of Allah. It is the musalla, place of worship for the malaikatullah. It is the place where the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came down. It is matjar, place of tijarat for the awliya. اكتسبوا فيها الرحمة. What do? They acquire in it rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَرَبِهُ فِيهَا الْجَنَّةِ. And they gain from it the paradise and the Jannat as well. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, very beautifully in this passage, speaks about the potential of the world as a source of good, guidance and preparation depending on how individuals approach it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and ability to ponder over these meaningful ayat from Surah Zumar that we recited, ayat number 50 and 51. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of those who were bestowed mercy and not the path of those upon whom Allah bestowed His wrath upon. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli. Assalamu alaikum Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum Nabiullah, assalamu alaikum Habibullah, assalamu alaikum Akhiratullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alaikum Abu Abdullah, assalamu alaikum Ibn Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum wa ala jaddika wa abika wa ala ummika wa akhika wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alaikum Gharib al-Ghuraba, assalamu alaikum Mu'in al-Du'afa wal-Fuqara, assalamu alaikum Shams al-Shumus wa Anis al-Nufus, أيها المدفون بعد التمثال ابن موسى رضاه ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم صاحب الأسر والزمان. السلام عليكم إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليكم شريك القرآن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعل